Assalamualaikum, my name is Widi Mutakin, founder of Expo Studio and Expo Academy. In this tutorial, I want to cover how to model a classic style roof with a specific slope angle, complete with the roof tiles and ridges. Everything will be created in Blender 4.2 without any additional add-ons. Let's assume that we've already modeled the walls and the base of the roof. To make it more challenging, we will model a hip-style roof with a 30-degree slope, both when viewed from the front and when viewed from the side. Please note that currently, for the length unit, I use centimeters, and for the snap settings, I am using the closest option and also vertex as the target. I should also mention that this tutorial is not for beginners. You should have at least a basic understanding of Blender, especially 3D modeling, to follow this tutorial. First, we need to move the 3D cursor so that it is in the top corner of the roof base. This will serve as the axis of rotation or the pivot point. Hold Shift, drag with the right mouse button, then hold Ctrl and snap to the vertex in this corner. Okay, next, we can select the roof base object. Select the face at the top. Now, we want to duplicate this face as we rotate it 30 degrees, using the 3D cursor as the rotation axis. So, don't forget to change the transform pivot point setting to 3D cursor first. After that, press Shift-D to duplicate. By default, we now enter the move mode. What we want now is not to move, but to rotate. So, just press R, then press X for the X-axis, and then type 30 for the rotational degree, then hit enter. We need to repeat the process for the Y-axis. Select the face again, press Shift-D, then press R, then Y, then type 30. If the direction is reverse, just press the minus key on the keyboard, then press enter. Now, the reason we made these two faces is actually just to get the intersection line. For this, we can choose one of these faces, it doesn't matter which. Then, in the face menu, select the intersect knife command. And here is the edge that we need. We can go into the edge mode and select the edge. Next, we make it a separate object by pressing P, then choose selection. You can see that the edge has become a new independent object. Now, we don't need all these extra faces or vertices, so let's just delete them all. Next, we can select the new object and go into the edge mode. We want to duplicate and rotate this edge, but before that, make sure the auto merge option is turned off. Otherwise, all vertices in the center of the rotation will get merged. Next, press Shift-D to duplicate, then press R, then Z, then type 90 for the rotation degree. After we have one duplicate, we can press Shift-R 2 times, so in total, we have 4 edges. Alright, now this is important. We need to turn the auto merge option back on, and make sure these two checkboxes are also active. The goal is that the edges that we move will automatically intersect. Now we can move and snap each of these edges to their appropriate locations. We can utilize axis and or plane constraints for precision. Okay, now we can go to the vertex mode. We can see that all the edges have been automatically intersected. Again, this is due to the auto merge option that we enabled earlier. We can remove all the vertices above that we don't need. To build the surface, select these two edges and then press F. Then also select these two edges, press F again. With the same technique of selecting two edges and pressing F, we can close the remaining edges. To play safe, we can press A to select all, then press M and choose Merge by Distance. Let's try checking the normals. It turns out that all normals are flipped. Just press Shift-N to fix it automatically. Alhamdulillah, the roof model is done. If you still have doubts about whether the roof is at 30 degrees or not, you can test it with the Add Cube tool. We can see that the slope is indeed 30 degrees. We can also test this side. And indeed, this is also perfectly at 30 degrees. Lastly, I think we should rename the object to roof to differentiate it from the other objects. Now, we will start making the roof tile. There are so many different types of roof tiles that you can find in market. To make this tutorial a bit more challenging, we are going to model ceramic tiles, which are common in classic style buildings. Although I am demonstrating only one type, inshallah, you can use this technique for other types of roof tile products. Press Shift-C so that the 3D cursor is at the center again. We can start from a simple plain object. Let's make the width and depth the same at 32 centimeters. Again, you can adjust the size based on the roof tile product you want to use. Next, so that later we can easily snap the tile to the corner of the roof. We should place the origin point at the lower left corner. Press Ctrl+, then drag and snap by holding Ctrl to the corner point. Alright, if you see that the move gizmo is still in the middle, this is because we previously used the 3D cursor as the pivot point. Let's return it to the median point first. The gizmo will be at the origin when there is only one object selected. Okay, next, we can press Tab to activate the edit mode, then Ctrl+R to make loop cut and move it to about here. Ctrl+R again. Now we make two loop cuts. Scale it in the X direction to make it wider. Then we raise these three edges up by 1.5 centimeters. Then we select two of them and we move them up again. Next, press Ctrl+R to place the arch on its left side. To see how the tile interacts with each other, we can add an array modifier. Set the X distance to 0.9 so that it overlaps slightly. Next, we also need to add an array modifier for the Y direction. Same as before, let's also make it 0.9 so it overlaps in Y-axis direction. For the X value of this array, we should set it to 0. Finally, we can add the solidify modifier. I usually use the complex mode to make it more precise and even. Make the direction upward and set the thickness to 1.5 centimeters. If you are done, you can go back to the edit mode. Next, select the edge at the end. Then rise it a little to make it look like the tile is locking. Select this vertex and then move it back a bit. To make a smoother curve, we can rise these two edges up, then press Ctrl+B for the edge bevel command. Don't create too many segments, I think 2 or 3 is enough. Okay. Next, we can go to the vertex mode. Select all the vertices in the curve area at the back. Then press S to scale. Lower and snap to the vertex on the left so that the bottom is flat again. So now the curved part in the back area is slightly smaller than the front one. The last step is to select all the vertices in the front. Then we move them up a little bit. The goal here is to create visible steps from one tile to another. Alright, after that, this step is optional. Personally, I won't use the auto smooth shading on the roof tile. But if you prefer to use auto smooth, you should first mark the edges that will look sharp. To make the file more organized, we can rename this object to roof tile. For example, I am using the Indonesian name for it as it is easier for me to spot in the outliner. To attach the tiles to the roof, we can duplicate it first so we have a backup. We already know that the roof is tilted at 30 degrees, so we can just rotate the tiles on the x-axis by 30 degrees and then hit enter. Now, we need to change the snap setting to the active mode and target vertex. Press G, move and hold Ctrl to snap to this point. To extend the tile range, we can increase the number in the x direction on the first array modifier. And for the tile range in the y direction, we can increase the number of the second array modifier. Next, to remove the part of the tile that we don't need, we can either use the bisect command or the boolean modifier. I will demonstrate the boolean method in this video. To create the operand, we can utilize the existing roof model. First, we duplicate it in the z-axis direction. Then go to face mode and delete all faces except the one directly above the tiles. Next, flatten the face by pressing S, Z, then 0. Then extrude the face downwards. To prevent the front tile from getting cut off, we can add another extrude on the front side. Just in case there are flip normals, we can select all faces, then press Shift-N. OK. To make the boolean process easier, we should first apply all the modifiers on this tile object. One way to do this is by pressing Ctrl-A and then selecting the Visual Geometry to Mesh option. As you can see, all modifiers are automatically applied. Now we can use the boolean modifier. Use the intersect operation, and for the mode, you should use exact and enable all these checkboxes. Yes, this setting is heavier on the system, but the results are more precise. Only after that, we can pick the operand object. Our roof tile geometry is actually not complex, but because there are many of them, and some of them even overlap, Blender takes a few seconds to calculate them. If it is done, we can apply the modifier or use the Visual Geometry to Mesh command. Just like before, this process also takes a few seconds or even minutes depending on the size of the tile and the speed of the computer we are using. Alhamdulillah, it is done. We don't need this object anymore, so let's just delete it. Since the roof plane of the opposite side is exactly the same, we can just duplicate this tile object to it. But we cannot use any mirroring features because then the tile design will be flipped. So we use rotate instead. Alt-D to duplicate as an instance, then R, Z, 180, then G. Control-click at this point. For the roof tiles on the remaining two sides, the technique is exactly the same as what I showed earlier. To save time, I'll just skip the process in this video. After we have created the last two sides, we can select all the roof tile objects and put them into a new collection. I'll name this Genteng, which means roof tile in English. And let's hide this collection for now so they don't get in the way. Just a reminder, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please subscribe first so you don't miss other useful content in the future. Next, we want to create the side ridge and then the top ridge. As with roof tiles, there are many different roof ridge products available in the market. Let's assume that we want to make a cylindrical one. We can start by creating a cylinder object. For this cylinder, we don't want the edges at the left and right sides to only form a single line, but we need two lines. The reason for this is to make it easier when later we need to pull one line down. For the width, we want the diameter to be 20 centimeters, so we set the radius to 10 centimeters. And for the length, we set it to 35 centimeters. After that, we can go to the edit mode, press R, X, then 90, and press Enter. We move the mesh so that the origin point is in front, more or less here. Then select the face that is in front. Press Ctrl B for edge bevel. Scroll until we have about 6 to 8 segments. Press Ctrl R and make loop cut approximately at this position. Ctrl R again and make 3 loop cuts. Then press Alt S and set the thickness. About this thick. Then we set the thickness of the center edge only. Next, to make it look good when later we change the shading to auto smooth, we select the edges that should look sharp. Then we choose Mark Sharp. Yes, in the real world, the shape of roof tile ridges is not a full circle like this, but they are only half of a circle. But for visualization purposes only, it will be way easier to put this roof tile ridge on the roof model if it forms a full circle. Inshallah, this will not be a problem since half of it will be covered or sunk into the roof. Next, we add the array modifier. The direction is not to x but to y. Next, we set the distance percentage. I think 0.84 is enough, or maybe 0.83. I think this is fine. We can still tweak the number later if needed. For now, let's move and snap this roof tile to a point on the corner of the roof model. To make the ridge align perfectly with the roof corner line, we can create a custom orientation which we extracted from this edge. The trick is that we select the roof object, then go to the edge mode, and select the edge. With the edge selected, open the Transform Orientation panel, then click on the plus button. So this is the new custom orientation that is aligned with the edge that we selected earlier. In order to make the ridge object follow the active orientation, we can use a command called align to transform orientation. As you can see, now the ridge object is rotated or oriented in the direction that we want. To see if the ridge position still needs adjustment, we can unhide the roof collection. Alhamdulillah, mine already looks good. If your ridge object is too deep in or too float out, you should adjust it again in the edit mode, not in the object mode. This is so that the origin position does not change from the corner point of the roof. If the front is good, we can increase the array number until it slightly exceeds the top part of the roof. We have to cut the ridge here, but before that, I forgot to duplicate this ridge object, so let me use the global orientation first, Shift B, and move the object to the side. We will need the duplicate leader to create the top horizontal ridge. Now, we can go back to the first ridge object. Let's apply the modifiers. After that, we can go to the edit mode, Ctrl R to create a loop cut, position it roughly here. Next, we want to remove the faces at the end. We can press Alt M, then select faces by edges. Since it's already separated, we can activate the face mode, then press L and just delete these faces. Okay. To create the other three ridges, we can repeat the technique we used earlier. However, since they are all identical, it will be faster to just duplicate them. Press Alt D to create an instance. We don't need movement for now, just rotation, so press R, then Z, then type 90, and then enter. After that, we can press Shift R to repeat the duplication so that we have a total of 3 additional ridge objects. Next, just move and snap each of these ridge objects to their respective corner positions. For the top ridge, we want to reset all the orientations first, so press Alt R, then press G and snap it to the point at the top. Adjust the position as needed. It looks like we need to move this up a bit more. Feel free to adjust it until you are completely satisfied with the position. Now, if you are curious why before we use 26 vertices when creating the cylinder, well, this is when they will be useful. We can grab only the bottom vertices and move them down. You may use other numbers, it doesn't have to be 26. The important thing is that we want the amount of top and bottom vertices to be balanced. Now, with a more oval shape, if we unhide the roof tile, the intersecting area between the ridge and the roof tile looks neater. Next, to make the upper ridge on the opposite side, we can utilize the mirror modifier. use the Y direction, enable bisect, and also the flip option. You should note that the mirror modifier uses the origin location as its reference point. So we can tidy up the model by pressing Ctrl and move the origin point so that it is in the center. Mine happens to meet at the step part. I think this is enough. In general, the 3D modeling process is all done. As a final touch, we want to adjust the surface shading. Hide the wireframe first. Then, for the ridge objects, we can apply the auto smooth shading. Since all the side ridge objects are instances, they all automatically become auto smooth also. But the top ridge is not an instance of the other, so we have to apply auto smooth separately. Now, for the roof tiles, I honestly prefer to use just the flat shading mode as it looks better when rendering. But again, this is just a matter of taste. If you prefer to use the auto smooth shading, then it is fine also, as we previously have marked some of the edges to be sharp. So alhamdulillah, we can all consider our roof model complete. If you want to learn 3D in more detail or other computer graphics software, don't forget to check out my courses on Udemy and Skillshare. The links are in the description below. Thank you for watching. Wassalamualaikum.